JinPingMei Original Version Chapter 16 Simon King chooses an auspicious time and Earl Ying pursues the celebration. It is said that on that day, when Simon King left the courtyard gate, Diane and his horse went to Li Pingera's house on Shizi Street. Seeing that the gate was closed, they knew that the guest had gone to his home in a sedan chair. Diane asked Feng's mother to open the door, and Simon King came in. Li Pingera is holding a candle in the hall. Her flower crown is neatly arranged. Her plain clothes are light, and she is leaning against the curtain in hope. Seeing Simon King coming, he hurriedly moved his steps, put on his xiang skirt, went downstairs to greet him, and said with a smile, "You should have come earlier. His third and fifth wives are still here, but they just got up. His aunt left early today, said you were not at home." "Where have you been?" Simon King asked. "Today, Brother Ying and Zizichen and I looked at the lights in the morning and walked over to your door. I didn't want to bump into the friends again, so I took them to the courtyard and bumped into this person. We're late. I'm afraid you're waiting here. When the boy leaves, teach me to push and wash my hands, open the back door and run away. Otherwise, they will get caught and we won't be able to come." Li Pingera said, "Thank you for your generous gift." His ladies refused to sit down, saying that there was no one at home, and it would be boring to teach the slaves. So they sifted the wine again, prepared the delicacies, lit the lanterns in the hall, and put down the curtains. The golden furnace is filled with animal charcoal, and the precious seal script is hot with ambergris saliva. The woman passed the wine to Simon King. Kotodan said, "My humble husband has passed away and has no relatives. Today's cup of wine depends only on the official and the slave as the master. Don't think the slave is ugly. The slave is willing to be with the official. Make the bed and fold the quilt. Become a sister with all the ladies and slave yourself willingly. I wonder what the official's heart is like." She burst into tears as she spoke. Simon King took the wine with one hand and pulled him with the other. "Please get up. Since I have received your great love, I, Simon King, will bear it in my heart. When your filial piety is over, I will have my own place and won't bother you. Today is a good day for you. Let's have some wine every now and then." After Simon King finished eating, he poured a full glass of wine in return. After the woman finished eating, she sat down at the banquet. Mother Feng is in charge of the kitchen alone. After a while, take the noodles and eat them. Simon King asked, "Who are the two singing today?" Li Pingera said, "Today it is Dong Zhaoer and Han Chenchuaner. Before evening, I sent him to the homes of his third and fifth Niangs to beg for flowers. The two of them exchanged cups and drank at the banquet. Shu Chen and Yingxun were serving wine and serving dishes. I saw Diane coming up and cowed out to Li Pingera to wish him a happy birthday. Li Pingera hurriedly got up and returned the 10,000 blessings, and asked Yingxun to teach Chef Feng how to make longevity noodles and snacks for dinner, and brought a pot of wine to eat with Diane. Simon King said, "Let's go home after breakfast." Li Pingera said, "When you get home, your mother will ask. Don't tell her that your father is here." Dan said, "You know, I just said that my father is here. Stay the night. Just come and pick up Dad early tomorrow morning." Simon King nodded, and immediately said that Li Pingera liked Li Pingera. What a good boy, his eyes speak. He also asked Yingxun to give him 2 coins. "During the festival, I bought melon seeds and knelt on them. Bring me a sample tomorrow, and I will make you a pair of good shoes to wear." Dan kowtowed quickly and said, "How dare you, little one." He went downstairs to have dinner and wine, and brought the horses out. Mother Feng closed the door and bolted it. Li Pingera and Simon JinPingMei had a meal, and then took a set of 32 ivory cards. The table was covered with strips of red thatch, and 2 white cards were used to drink, eat once and share the candles in the Yingxun room. It turns out that Hua Zixu is dead, and both Yingxun and Shu Chen have been tricked by Simon King. So he doesn't avoid anything and teaches him to make the bed and get a fruit box and a glass of wine. And in the purple brocade tent on the bed, the woman's pink body was exposed. Simon Qingxiang's shoulders were touching, and their jade bodies were touching. The two looked at the cards and drank with Da Zhang, because he asked Simon King, "When will the house over there be tidied up?" Simon King said, When construction starts in February, even the one on your side will be open to match the garden over there. A mountain shed will be built in front. Play in the garden. There are also 3 flower playhouses built in the back. The woman pointed out, there are 30 or 40 kilograms of agarwood, 200 kilograms of white wax, 2 jars of mercury, and 80 kilograms of pepper hidden in the tea box behind my bed. You move out tomorrow, sell the money for me, and build a house for you. If you don't think I am ugly, you can at least tell the aunt when you get home. I would like to be a sister with you. And you can ask me which one you want to be. That's okay, kiss me. I can't let you go. As he said this, tears started to fall down one after another. Simon King hurriedly wiped the sweat towel and said, I already know your affection. When you have fulfilled your filial piety, I will build a house over there. Otherwise, if I marry you, I won't have a house. The woman said, since I have sincerely married into the slave's family, I will build the slave's house together with his 5th wife tomorrow. I can't let him go. He is such a good person. He and the 3rd wife of the Ming family behind me meet the slave and become intimate with him. To people born in heaven, his appearance is not different from that of 2 sisters, just that of one mother. Only his aunt is not good-natured, and her eyes are quick to look at others. Simon King said, this humble Jing of my Wu family, he is here. You are a good-natured person. Otherwise, how could your subordinates tolerate these people? Tomorrow, we will build 3 buildings for you to live in here, just like that there, and install 2 corner doors for access. How do you feel? The woman said, my brother, this kind of talent is a slave. So the 2 fell in love with each other, and their lust was unbridled. I was so crazy that I just went to bed at the 4th watch. They slept side by side on the pillow and couldn't get up until dinner time the next day. The woman did not comb her hair. She brought porridge to welcome the spring. She only ate half a cup of porridge with Simon King. Then she brought wine and the 2 of them ate again. It turned out that Li Pinger was a good horse crawler and taught Simon King to sit on a pillow, while he ranged flowers upside down and moved back and forth automatically. It is said that the 2 of them were in a beautiful place, and they saw Diana knocking on the door outside and riding to pick them up. Simon King called him to ask him something under the window. Diane said, there are 3 guests from Sichuan and Guangzhou sitting at home. There are a lot of fine goods that need to be exchanged with Uncle Fu. I only need 100 taels of silver to pledge the contract, and the money will be found around the middle of August. The aunt sent the younger one to invite Dad. Go home and take care of this matter, Simon King said. You didn't say I was here? Dan said. The younger one only said that Dad was at Aunt Gui's house. Not here, Simon King said. Don't you know what's going on? The second uncle, the master, dismissed him. And why did you come to invite me again? Diane said. Second Uncle Fu told me, but the guest refused. He waited until Dad went before signing the contract. Li Pinger said, since the children of the family are invited, the business is important. If you don't go, won't you offend the aunt? Simon King said, you don't know, the thieves are slaves. They go to the market late, and there is no place to exchange the goods, so they come to the door to sell them to others. If it is quick, he will Zhangzi, in King County. Apart from mine, my shop is big and I ship a lot of goods. I don't have to worry about him not coming to find me when I ask him how many times. The woman said, trading is not against the road. I just send the slaves home and then come back. The days ahead will be like willow leaves. Simon King then followed Li Pinger's advice and got up slowly, combed his hair, washed his face, put on a net scarf, and got dressed. Li Pinger packed up the meal and ate with him, while Simon King came home on horseback with a veil on his eyes. There were 4 or 5 customers in the shop, waiting to have their goods weighed and exchanged for silver. The contract was approved and sent away. Walking to Pan Jinlian's room, Jinlian asked, "Where did you go yesterday? Just tell me the truth, otherwise I will yell so loudly." Simon King said, "You are all having a drink at Hua's house." And they and I, after walking round the lantern market, we went inside to have a drink and spend the night together. Today, the young man picked me up and he just came home. Jinlian said, "I know the young man went to pick me up. Is there your soul in the courtyard?" "Well, thief, You're so heartless. You're still coaxing me. That horse sent us here yesterday, playing tricks on us. Wan she called you. And Rory messed with you all night. After Rory was done, she was released. Diane is a thief who has been in prison for a long time. He said the same thing to his aunt. And he said the same thing to me. First, when he returned to Malay's house, his aunt asked him, "Why doesn't your father come? Whose house are you having a drink with?" He replied, "Secret Uncle Fu, and I came back after watching the lanterns. And they were all having a drink at Aunt Li Gui's house in the courtyard. Please ask me to pick you up tomorrow morning." I called him after he was behind, and he smiled without words. He asked anxiously, so he said, "Dad is at Hua Erniang's place on Lion Street. Damn it. How did he know that you and I were talking about the same thing? Presumably you asked him to come." Simon King said, "Where can I teach him?" So he couldn't hide it. So he told Li Pinger, "Invite me there in the evening, pass the wine to me, and say you guys are here." Then he cried and told me that he had no one, and the second half was empty. Wang Xi was afraid and wanted to teach me to marry him. Asked when the house would be cleaned up. He also has some fine goods of incense and candles, which are worth several hundred taels of silver. I can teach me how to be a broker and help him dispose of them. Teach me how to collect the money and use it to build a house. Tighten the roof and repair it. He wants to live with you and become a sister to you, but I am afraid you will not agree. The woman said, "I don't have a shadow here. I wish I could come. My place is also empty, so I need him to keep me company." Since ancient times, if there are many boats, they will not hinder the harbor, and if there are many cars, they will not hinder the roads. I refuse to recruit him. How could he recruit me in the first place? How much does it cost to help a slave? I'm just afraid that people's hearts are not like slaves. Why don't you ask your eldest sister? Simon King said. Although it is true, his filial piety is not full. After saying that, the woman and Simon King took off their white silk jackets and pulled out something from her sleeves. It was heavy in her hand and had big marbles. After looking at it for a long time, she didn't know what it was. But she saw, originally born in Fanbing. He was transferred to Beijing on the recommendation of someone. The body is small and exquisite. With the help of others, it turns like cicadas chirping. The solution makes the beautiful woman's heart tremble, and it can help strengthen the kidneys. Known as the Golden Vase brave pioneer, he ranked first in the battle and became famous as Mayan Xiling. The woman recognized it for a long time and asked, "What is it? How come half of the man's arm is numb?" Simon King smiled and said, "You don't know about this object. It's called a Mayan bow. It comes from the Mayan Dayan kingdom in the south. It comes out, a good one is worth 4 or 5 taels of silver." The woman asked, "Where can I get this thing?" Simon King said, "First put it in the furnace, and then do the work. It is wonderful." The woman said, You going to do it with Li Pinger?" Simon King then told him what happened that night from the beginning. Jin Lian's lust suddenly roused after talking about it, so the two closed the door during the day, and dressed and went to bed to have sex. Exactly, I don't know why Zijin became an immortal just after he learned to play the flute. Stop talking nonsense. One day, Simon King met with his agent, and weighed Li Pinger's fragrant wax and other items, and sold them for a total of 380 taels of silver. Li Pinger only left 180 taels of money, and gave the rest to Simon King to collect and build a house. To teach Yin and Yang, choose the 8th day of February to start construction. 500 taels of silver were entrusted to the family to recruit and supervise by sea, to unload the bricks, wood, and stones, and to take care of the accounts. These forbidden men are called Ben de Chuan. They are young and arrogant, full of abilities and skills. He was originally from Nai Xiang Kinner, but he was kicked out because he didn't keep his duty. At first, he followed someone as a brother. Then he joined an adult's family and became a family member. He kidnapped someone's breasts and became his wife. But then he worked as a broker in an old clothing store, can play the pipa and flute. Seeing his ability, Simon King often took care of him, weighing goods in herbal medicine shop and asking for money. In this way, no matter how big or small, he cannot be left out. On the same day, Ben Si came to recruit and supervise the craftsmen to start the work. First, demolish the old house at Hua's house, open up the walls, build foundations, and build rolling sheds, pavilions, and places to play. It doesn't take just one day, so there's no need to explain it all. Time flies. The sun and the moon fly by. Simon King built the garden for more than a month. But it was early March, and it was only 100 days of flowers. Li Ping'er invited Simon King in advance to discuss with him how to burn Hua Zixeling. The house is for sale. If not, you have someone to guard it. You should have married the slave earlier. You can make the slave your own, no matter which one. I would like to help you make your bed and fold the quilt. As he spoke, he burst into tears. Simon King said, "Don't worry. I have told my servant and fifth sister Pan that I will wait until I finish building the house with you. By then your filial piety will be over, and it will not be too late to marry you." Li Ping'er said, "Since you are sincere in marrying a slave, you have already built the slave house. If you marry a slave and live in your house for a day, you will be willing to die. This will save the slave from living here like a year." Simon King said, "I understand what you said." Li Ping'er said, "If you don't, I will burn the spirit and move to Wen Yang's place for 2 days. When you build a new house, it won't be too late to move. At least you can tell Wen Yang when you get home, I'm still waiting for you. The 10th day of the 3rd month is his 100 days, so I can chant sutras and burn his soul." Simon King agreed and rested with the woman all night. When I came home the next day, I told Pan Jinlian everything. Jinlian said, "It's good to know Nuba didn't give up 2 rooms to live with him. Why don't you ask eldest sister to go? I'm in such a state that the river water doesn't wash the boat." Simon King walked to Yunyang's room, where Yunyang was combing her hair. Simon King told Li Ping'er about getting married from beginning to end. Yunyang said, "It's hard for you to marry him. The first thing is that he is not satisfied with his filial piety. The second thing is that you had a relationship with him as a man. The third thing is that you joined hands with his wife and bought his house. There are many things he has stored there. As the saying goes, the machine is not as fast as the shuttle. I have heard people say that the big brother in his family is a cunning scoundrel. If he makes some remarks for a while, it will not cause lice to scratch his head." What he said was good? Zhao Jin and Sun Li. "It's up to you whether you want to or not." Simon King was speechless after saying a few words. Walking out of the front hall, he sat on a chair and muttered, "It's hard to reply to Li Ping'er, and it's hard not to go." After pondering for a long time, I entered the Golden Lotus room. Jinlian asked, "What did eldest sister say?" Simon King told Yunyang's words. Jinlian said, "That's what the eldest sister said. You bought his house, married his wife, and made friends with him as a man. We became friends with him, but you have no hair and no hair. And you even look at Kiao when you are a high-ranking official." Simon King said, "That's all. I'm afraid that Hua Dao will not be able to jump through hoops. He only knows how to control his filial piety and dissatisfaction, so he can be a fool in the middle. How can we argue? I can't return his favor now." Jinlian said, "Bah, what's the matter? Difficult matter. When you go there, you just say, 'When I get home.'" I told Wu Niang that there are a lot of medicines piled upstairs. You guys have no place to pile them up. Please be more lenient. Your house is here. It's about 7 or 8 years old. I'd like the craftsmen to decorate and paint it early. And your filial piety will be full here. I'll marry you there, but it's not already. It's better than moving to Wen Yang's upstairs, with meat and vegetables, vegetarian and non-vegetarian, crowded together. What a mess. Just worry about him." Simon King was overjoyed when he heard this. While waiting there, he walked to Li Ping'er's house. The woman then asked, "What do you mean?" Simon King said. Wu Niang said, "I'll wait for you to clean up and paint your new house. It won't be too late for you to move in. Now his upstairs is full of broken things." "Yes. Where did you go to stack these things? There is one more thing to disturb you. I am afraid that your eldest brother-in-law will say that you are dissatisfied with your filial piety." "What will he do?" The woman said, "He dare not interfere with my business. Don't say that everyone has his own food and clothing. The official written separation order has been broken down. It's up to me to marry first to my parents. And then to myself, as the saying goes, my uncle-in-law doesn't know how to ask questions, and my uncle can't control my secret affairs. I've seen bad days now, and he takes care of them. No, I don't. If he farts, I will teach that thief to sit and die without daring to sleep. Don't worry, sir. He doesn't dare to mess with me. Yin asked, how long will it take for your house to be restored? Are you ready? Simon King said, now I will assign the craftsmen to build these 3 buildings for you. When it comes to painting, it will be the beginning of May. The woman said, my brother, please tighten it up. I would rather wait until then. After saying that, the maid put out the wine, and the 2 of them drank happily all night. Since then, Simon King has not been here for 3 to 5 days, so there is no need to elaborate. Time flies, and Simon King's house has been built for 2 months. The decoration of the 3-room flower building is about to be completed, but the shed has not yet been installed. One day, in May, it was the Reuben season. Mugwort leaves were placed on every door, and talismans were hung everywhere. Li Pinger had a banquet and invited Simon King to come over. One of them would untie the rice dumplings, and the 2 of them would discuss the matter. On the 15th day of the 5th lunar month, we would first invite monks to chant sutras and burn souls, and then Simon King would choose a woman to marry. Simon King Yin asked Li Pinger, on the day you burn the soul, will he invite Hua Da, Hua San, and Hua Si? The woman said, I'll give each of them a post, and it's up to him to come or not. They were planning at the moment. It was decided that on May 15th, the woman would invite 12 monks from Bowen Temple to chant sutras at home to ward off spirits. On that day, Simon King made a favor of 3 coins to celebrate Earl Ying's birthday. In the morning, I took 5 taels of silver with Diane and taught him how to buy wine. In the evening, I got married with Li Pinger, but he taught Ping'an and Hua Tong to follow horses, and made an appointment to go to Earl Ying's house in the afternoon. Those present at the table that day were Zi Zida, Zhu Xinian, Sun Tianhua, Wu Dianan, Yun Li Shu, Chang Jiji, and Shin Chang Huabidichuan, including 10 friends. I also asked the young children to play and sing. After passing the wine and sitting down, Simon King called the 2 young boys, and the first one he recognized was brother Wu Yinner, named Wu Hui. The one who didn't recognize him knelt down and said, the younger one is Zheng Xianger's brother. His name is Zheng Feng. Simon King sat in the chief position, and each person was rewarded with 2 coins. When the meal was over, Diane came to pick up the horse and whispered into Simon King's ear, second mother, please go early. Simon King winked at him and walked down. Count Ying stopped him and asked, you thief, you come here and tell the truth. If you tell the truth, I will twist your little ears aside. How many birthdays does your father Ying have in a year? He brought it in the first half of the day. Who asked you to come? Or was it your mother who asked you to come? Or the 18th son in there? If you don't say it, you won't tell your father in 100 years to get a wife for you, a bald little puppy. Dan only said, no one is entrusted with the younger one. I'm afraid the night is tight, and my father has to get up early, so he can take care of the horse. Earl Ying did nothing to him, but without saying anything. He said, you don't, he said. I will find out tomorrow, and I will settle the score with you. This little oily guy. Then he poured another glass of wine, took half a plate of something, and ate it with Diane. After a long time, Simon King came down to change his clothes and asked Diane to go to a quiet place to ask him, who is coming from the Hua family today? Diane said, Hua San has gone to the countryside. Hua Si's family is so annoying that no one comes. Only Hua we all came as a couple. After a day of fasting, the man went home first, leaving only his wife. Before leaving, Ernang called him into the room and gave him 10 taels of silver and 2 sets of clothes. He also kowtowed to Ernang. Simon King said, what didn't he say? Diane said, he didn't dare to mention anything. He only said that he would come to his father's house in the next 3 days until his second mother comes over tomorrow. Simon King said, did you really say this? Diane said, how dare you lie? Simon King was filled with joy after hearing this. He asked again, have you finished the fasting? Diane said, the monk left a long time ago, and the memorial tablet was burned. Nying asked Dad to come over early. Simon King said, I understand. You can witch everything. Get off the horse. Diane was walking out. He didn't want the Earl to listen in the corridor, so he shouted loudly, which startled Diane. The Earl scolded, You little bastard. Why didn't you tell me that I heard you? It turns out your fathers did a good job, Simon King said. Weird dog talents. Don't promote them. The Earl, he said. You ask me, I won't say anything. So he walked to the banquet and said this to everyone. He pulled Simon King and said, Brother, how can you be a human being? Why don't you just hang up and say nothing to your brothers if something like this happens? It's just that Huada has something to say, brother. I just want to tell us and wait for us to talk to him. I'm not afraid that he won't comply. If he dares to say no, we will form a big knot with him. Duan, I don't know if this marriage has happened, brother told us one by one. What are you doing to make friends recently? If so, brother, wherever the order goes, brothers are willing to go into fire and water. Brothers, I am waiting for you, but I just keep it secret. Zaida took it and said, If you don't tell me, we will promote it tomorrow. Sister Li Gui and Wu Yin are inside know about it, and everyone is embarrassed. Simon King said with a smile, Now that everyone knows, the marriage has been arranged. Shi said, Brother will marry my sister-in-law tomorrow. We congratulate brother. Let's go. Brother, I'll invite for singers and treat us to a wedding banquet. Simon King said, Needless to say, I'll treat all brothers to you. Zhu Shinian said, I'll celebrate with you tomorrow. Why don't we get a glass of wine for my brother now and celebrate the occasion first? So he asked the Earl to bring the wine. Zishi held the pot. Zhu Shinian served the dishes, and everyone else knelt with him. He also called the two little girls to kneel down and played and sang a set of 13 tunes and happy days, and drank Simon King 3 or 4 hours of wine. Zhu Shinian said, Brother, if you invite us to have a drink that day, don't miss Zheng Feng and Wu Hui. Yin decided, You just should go anyway. Zheng Feng covered his mouth and said, Little we will definitely serve you. After a while, after passing the wine, everyone returned to their seats and sat down. Ate again. Looking at the night, Simon King was sitting there, but he got up and left in a hurry. Earl Ying still wanted to block the door, and Zishi said, Second brother Ying, please let me go. Don't disturb his affairs and make your sister-in-law angry. Then Simon King took advantage of the situation and walked away. When they arrived at Lion Street, Li Ping'er took off her filial piety bun and put on a gorgeous dress. The lights in the hall were bright, and a banquet table was prepared. There was a high chair on it for Simon King to sit on. The maid held the pot, and Li Ping'er poured a full cup and handed it over, kowtowed 4 times, and said, Today the spirit has been burnt. I hope the officials will not give up. I will give you a handkerchief to fulfill Yufei's wish. After the ceremony, get up. Simon King came down from the table and handed the woman a glass before sitting down, because he asked, What did Huada and his wife say today? Li Ping'er said, After Nu Wu fast, I asked him to come into the room and talk about the marriage between the high officials. He said nothing about it and didn't say anything idle. Just say that in the next 3 days, I will teach his wife to come to our house for a walk. I will give him 10 taels of silver and 2 sets of clothes. The couple is very happy. Before leaving, thank you again and again. Simon King said, Since he said so, it won't be a big deal if I let him come and go for a walk, but I won't let him go if he gossips. Li Ping'er said, If he lets himself be flirtatious, I won't let him go either. So Yin Zuchun'er poured Nanju wine into Xu Zhong'er's cup, and Li Ping'er drank a few glasses with her. It's true that young people are less dependent on their emotions, and more wine is due to their circumstances. Because the wedding day was approaching, Li Ping'er was even happier than usual. With a smile on her face, she asked Simon King, Just now you were having a drink at Ying's house and Diane came to invite you. Doesn't anyone over there know? Simon King said, Chengdo. Ying Huazi guessed again and forced the young man to say a few words, causing a scene. The brothers wanted to congratulate me, call the singers, be the host, and gather their support, and drank me a lot of money. Cup, I walked out in a hurry, tried to stop him, and said it was fine. Let me go, Li Ping'er said. They let you go, and it was just for fun. Simon King saw that he was drunk and crazy. His eyes were nostalgic, and he couldn't help but be confused for a moment. Li Pinger held Simon King in his arms and shouted, "My dear brother, since you really want to marry me, you should do it as soon as possible. It's inconvenient for you to come and go, so don't leave me alone. Here you can watch day and night." After saying that, he tossed it over and over again, making a mess. And it was really, the love is strong, the chest is tight, the style is close to the arm, and the cage is light. Tired of looking at the silver vat? I doubt it is a dream.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.